Katie here with Omi Crochet, and in today's tutorial we are going to be making this extra large mandala wall hanging. I did use a hula hoop to attach it to, and the hula hoop's diameter is 34 inches across. So if you're going to make one of these, then make sure you get the correct size. I really love how this yarn, it like subtly just changes and fades from one color to the next, and I think it turned out really good. I really like it, and I hope you like it too. So let's get started. Get yourself a hula hoop, and don't forget to like and subscribe. The supplies that we'll be using for today's tutorial are a 7mm crochet hook, a yarn needle, and a pair of scissors. You're also going to need a hula hoop that is 34 inches in diameter, and grab yourself some jute to wrap your hoop, and we'll also use it to attach the mandala. And the yarn that I used is Hobby Lobby Yarn Bee Chloe. They have a lot of really pretty colors, and I think any of them would be really great for this project. But I did buy 3 balls of this. I didn't use all of it, but I did use most of it. So 3 balls of this, and we will be holding 2 strands together. And the color that I used is Jade Taffeta, and it is a 4-weight yarn. So gather up all your supplies and let's get started. Okay, we're going to start by holding 2 strands together. Go ahead and make a slip knot. From here, chain 6. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first chain, and that's going to make a little circle. Chain up 1. For round 1, we're going to place 12 single crochets into the circle. So insert your hook, draw up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through both loops. Insert your hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. And just continue doing that until you have a total of 12 single crochets. Once you have your 12 single crochets, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. For round 2, we're going to go ahead and chain up 9. And then we're going to come back down here and slip stitch into the same stitch. So pull through and pull through. And what we did was created our first little petal. Go over to the second stitch and slip stitch into there. And we're going to repeat that same thing. Chain up 9. And into the same space, slip stitch. Slip stitch into the next, chain 9, and then slip stitch again to create your petal. And just continue doing that all the way around, and you should have a total of 12 petals in the end. So go back and make sure you have 12 petals, and that is the end of round 2. I went ahead and cut my yarn. Go ahead and chain up 1 and pull the yarn through to secure it in place. Now, this is where my last row ended, so I'm going to tie on to this petal. So when we work on rounds where we have to cut our yarn and tie back on, always just move over to the next space. Now that I have the yarn tied on, go ahead and wrap your yarn around your hook, and then we're going to insert into the petal and draw up a loop. 2 loops on your hook, we're going to yarn over and pull through. And it's, I don't know, just I guess my way of doing a standing single crochet right here. So single crochet on the top of the petal, and then we're going to chain 3. Come over to the next petal, we're going to single crochet and chain 3. And that's the repeat for this round. Single crochet, chain 3. Now that we're back to the beginning of round 3, we are just going to join with a slip stitch to that single crochet. For round 4, I'm not going to chain up 1. I'm just going to go right into the chain space and do a single crochet. So insert your hook, draw up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So there's 1 single crochet in the chain space, and now we need 3 more into that chain space for a total of 4. And the repeat for this round is just 4 single crochets into each of the chain spaces. At the end of round 4, go ahead and slip stitch to the first stitch of the round, and you should have a total of 48 stitches around. Moving on to round 5, we're going to start out by chaining up 4, and the chain 4 counts as a double crochet plus a chain 1. Now we're going to skip 1 stitch and double crochet into the next. So yarn over, insert your hook, draw up a loop. 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now chain 1 and skip 1. Double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, and that's going to be the repeat for this round. Double crochet, chain 1, skip 1. Once you make it back to the beginning, find your 3rd chain of your chain 4 and slip stitch into there. And at the end of this round, you should have a total of 24 double crochets and 24 chain spaces. For round 6, I'm not chaining up 1. I am just going to go right into this chain space and place a single crochet. Into the same chain space, place 2 more single crochets. So the first chain space has 3 single crochets. The next chain space will get 2 single crochets. The following will get 3. And the next one will get 2. And that is the repeat for this round. 3 single crochets into the first chain space and 2 single crochets into the second. Now that we're at the end of round 6, we have 2 chain spaces remaining. The first one will get 3 single crochets, and the last one will get 2. And at the end of this round, you should have a total of 60 single crochets around. And then just join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. For round 7, go ahead and chain up 9. And then come back down to that same stitch and place a slip stitch. And there is our first petal. Go ahead and chain up 9 again. And now we're going to skip 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and into that 5th stitch, go ahead and slip stitch. And now we're going to make another petal, so chain up 9. And slip stitch into the same space. So for this round, it's going to be petal, arch, petal, arch, petal, arch, and keep working that all the way around. So we just did a petal, chain up 9, skip 4, and slip stitch. Now that we're at the end of round 7, go ahead and close with a slip stitch, chain up 1, and cut your yarn. From here, rounds 8, 9, 10, and 11 are just going to be a repeat of rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6. So just remember that we ended here and we are going to tie on to our next available space, which is this petal right here. Now that you've completed rounds 8, 9, 10, and 11, round 12 is going to be similar to round 7. So round 7 has a petal, an arch, and a petal. This round will be a petal, 2 arches, and a petal. But we are going to start out with one of the arches. So go ahead and chain up 9. And then we're going to skip 4 and slip stitch into that 5th stitch. Now when we do the petal rounds, I want the petals of the next round to be in between the petals of the previous round. So we have one arch here, and here we are in the middle. That's where we're going to place our first petal. So chain up 9. Go back down to that same stitch and slip stitch. Now we need 2 arches, so chain 9, slip stitch into that 5th stitch, and repeat that again. Chain 9, slip stitch into the 5th. We have our 2 arches. Now do a petal, chaining 9, and slip stitching into the same space. And that is what our repeat is going to be. Arch, arch, petal, arch, arch, petal. We already have 1 done here, so when you get to the end, you'll have a petal and then just 1 arch. We finished up round 12, and now rounds 13, 14, and 15 are going to be a repeat of 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll meet up to do round 16. Don't forget to tie on into the space after where we ended. We have finished up round 15, and now what we need to do is in this first stitch, we're only going to be placing 2 single crochets, and then 3, then 2, then 3, then 2, then 3. And if you can see right here, this is our middle space. And we want the set of 3 to be on the left-hand side of the petal. So we're just setting up kind of for the next row. So like I said, instead of doing 3, 2, 3, 2, this time it's going to be 2 single crochets in the first chain space, followed by 3 single crochets. And just keep working that all the way around. 2, 3, 2, 3. For round 17, we are going to slip stitch into this first stitch, and then slip stitch into the next. And we are going to go ahead and make an arch, so chain up 9, skip 4, and into that 5th stitch, slip stitch. Another arch, skip 4, and slip stitch. And now that puts us right in the middle of the previous row's petals. So we're going to place a petal here. Slip stitch into the same space. And because the last petal arch row had 2 arches, this next one will have 3. So 3 arches and then a petal, 3 and then a petal, and that's the repeat. And we already have, once we get to the end, we already have 2. So after the last petal will be 1 arch and slip stitch to close. Now that we've finished row 17, row 18, 19, 20, and 21 are going to be a repeat of rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6. And don't forget, wherever you last ended, go ahead and tie on to the next space. So complete the next 4 rows and we'll move on from there. For round 22, you should already be right in the middle. So we are going to start out by making a petal, so chain up 9. And because the last petal row had 1, 2, 3 arches to it, this one will have 4. So chain 9, and then skip 4 and slip stitch. Do that 3 more times and then another petal. So go ahead and continue working your 4 arches and then a petal all the way around. So now that we finished up round 22, rounds 23, 24, and 25 are going to be a repeat of rounds 3, 4, and 5. And then round 26, this round, instead of starting with 3 single crochets, we're going to start with 2 single crochets. For round 27, we are going to slip stitch into this first stitch and slip stitch again into the next. And now we need to get to the middle right here, and we are going to have to make 2 arches. So go ahead and chain up 9, skip 4 and slip stitch, and do that one more time. Skip 4 and slip stitch. And just to double check, here's our 2 petals from the previous round. 1, 2, right there. So we are in the middle. Go ahead and make a petal by chaining up 9 and slip stitching into the same space. And since the previous round of arches and petals has 1, 2, 3, 4 arches, we're gonna do a total of 5 and then a petal, 5 and then a petal. We're coming up to the end of round 27, and we already have 2 of our loops, so we just need to finish off with 3 more. And then we're just going to slip stitch to close, chain up 1, and cut your yarn. And you're done. Now all that you need to do is go back and sew in all of your ends, and then the next step is to wrap your hula hoop in the jute or whatever it is you're wrapping it in, and then we will come back and attach the mandala to our hoop. So once you have your hoop wrapped, all you're going to do is take your jute, go in through your loop, and go under the hoop. Bring it up and around and go through the next loop. Under your hoop, up and around, and just continue doing that all the way around the hoop. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.